All right.
All right, everybody. Welcome to Helicon West for February 26th, 2026. I am Naomi. I will be your MC this evening. Our featured readers are the Union of Table Scraps, which is a local poetry group that is now slightly gone viral because 2 of our members live in Maine, so that's cool. But anywho, to do the introductory thing, Helicon West happens twice a month during the semester and once a month in the summer. It is an uncensored space for community members to mix and mingle with published and established writers and poets so that we can all bask in each other's awesomeness and talent and all of that good stuff. So we do a couple of things here. One is to acknowledge that Helicon West resides on the ancestral land of the Shoshone people who are awesome and still around. Yay! So we do that. We do that because it pisses off certain Republican legislators to do that. So that always makes me happy. If I can piss off a Nazi. All right. Sorry. I was given too much authority to do things my own way. That is probably going to be taken back after this, but that's okay. So we want to do our thank you now. So thank you to Cafe Ibis, who provides coffee, and if you get some, put a lid on it, because Joseph will dig a basement to put you in if you damage the carpet. I heard him talk about it. It's true. This is really going to happen. Okay, so we also want to thank the Logan Library for this beautiful place in which to read and share and mix and mingle and all of that awesome stuff. And of course, we have to thank Star Colbert, our patron saint of Helicon West. Yay! Without her and the efforts of a few other awesome people associated with the university, Helicon West would not exist. So we are here in part because Star is awesome and likes all of us. All right, so I don't know why this feels so weird. Anyway, sorry. I'm super professional. Okay, so Union of Table Scraps was formed in 2020 after our previous poetry group disbanded. It didn't disband because we didn't have like a breakup. You know, we weren't like a band that broke up and everybody hated each other or anything. We just, it disbanded, and then it immediately got back together with practically the same people. So we just changed our name. So we rebranded in a sense. And so, yeah, we've been in existence for 6 years now. We read and write and share poetry with each other. We threaten to Isaac threatens to kick me out if I go too long without reading a poem, but that's a whole thing. Anyway, yeah, we love Cache Valley, we love the writing community that we've created here, and we are really thankful to share our talents with you. So, I'm going to introduce our first 2 people together because they're reading for people who are not themselves. So consider this like, if this were the Brock DeChair and Shannon Ballum biopic, then they would be played by Isaac Tim and Star Colbert. Okay, so that's what you're going to visualize in this next section. So, Brock DeChair and Shannon Ballum were big deals. Okay, they still are, but they were big deals at Utah State University. They were teachers, writers, mentors, friends to so many people in the Helicon West community, and we wanted to acknowledge that even though they have moved far away. So, first, Isaac Tim will be reading 3 poems by Brock DeChair, and Star Colbert will be reading 3 poems by Shannon Ballum. So we'll start with Isaac first, then we'll go to Star, and then we'll come back to me, and it'll be, I don't know, probably this same level of odd chaos, but that's okay. All right, so, yay, do the thing.
This first poem by Brock is kind of his feelings about what academia has done to the humanities, about how he kind of feels like it has betrayed the humanities and those who teach creative writing and art in general. It's called The Traitor's Bow Tie. They yanked off his perky bow tie and unraveled it into a ribbon, longer and longer, one end looped around a crossbeam, the other chucking his childish chin, made him tiptoe on a column of classics with traditional translations, of course, then pulled just a Bible out from the stack, leaving his toes kicking fruitlessly. Yeah, I'm just going to read this one. It's what it is. He's not pulling any punches here. Trying to grieve the unforgivable suicide. You died an asshole, mid-argument. You walked out to the driveway and blew your brains into the oaks. It's hard to grieve an asshole. And this is meaning it with his poem about him and Shannon hiking the West. And this is called Hiking the West, 1997 to 2025. The astonishing views from the parking lot just got better as we switched back our way up towards Timpanogos. After what would normally be a full day's climb, we hit a plateau and looked across the lake, then up, 2,000 feet of cliff to where we could just imagine the pointy little roof of a building. We were going up there. After skinning our way up Beaver, pushing against pain to a summit in under an hour, no breaks. Sometimes we'd get so cold at the top, wind drying sweat, heart no longer pumping warmth during gear change and bowl, that we couldn't imagine that we'd even shiver our way to our building, yet we would, opting not for the easy packed road, but for the left opening where the powder's so deep you're almost sure to lose your momentum. Almost to the summit of Box Elder Peak, the 4,000-foot giant in our backyard, an oxygen deprivation apparition appears on the other side of the summit dome. Pointy ears. Goats. We tried to ignore the guy who passed us in a t-shirt, shorts, and no pack. After all, we had only just climbed 13,000 feet, and the threatening lightning hadn't yet materialized. But when he told us he did a handstand on the top of every peak and asked us to take his picture, well, our spaces felt invaded. We became increasingly alarmed with him at a handstand, as his attempts at a handstand became increasingly erratic. Luckily, he survived his failure, and we survived him. We had our share of scares. The time I led us across a much too steep face of Cherry Peak, the time we were caught mid-act by some cowboys in Green Canyon, and the other time atop Megog in the middle of the fucking wilderness, for Christ's sake. And some kids arrive and we're half naked, and the father gives us the stink eye. The time we backpacked slowly, and the time we backed slowly away from Temp's aggressive goats, and the time we could have died of dysentery coming down Temp, desperate for a crapper, and slow down. And the time we almost died of dysentery coming down Temp's, desperate for a crapper. My most lasting impression for 3 decades of hiking, will of course be determined by technology. Shannon took a picture of me, which I've used in yearbooks, and now so it is now my picture. I stand near the summit of Mount Naomi, playing my backpacker guitar, grinning.
Yeah. Thank you, Joseph. It's great to have a sound man. Actually, Shannon sent in 4 poems, so I shall read 4 poems by Shannon. Shannon was poet laureate of Logan City, by the way, before she absconded to Maine with all of her wonderful talent, and her voice isn't here, so I'm going to try channeling her. The bird feeder at dusk. The last bird to land is a female cardinal, darkness slowly dissolving her. Below, birdseed husks spread like an oil spill on snow. I watch her ride the feeder's slow twist until darkness blots my eyes. Now, there is a long patch of sunlight on the lawn. Simple, it shines pale gold, ignites the grasses at the base of the spruce. The shadows waver and slink. Now the patch has shortened. Now it pools under the spruce, shrinking. The sun shines the trunk silver. Slippery light on graceful branches. I am the only one to see, but I am sharing it with you now. It is just a sliver, almost gone. The present. After the knock, I swing open the front door, and there on the black mat is a present wrapped in red glossy paper, a white ribbed ribbon curly-cued, a white satin bow right in the center. I shake it around. It feels so light. I bang it on the table. A tired hush of air inside. Maybe it is empty. Maybe someone played a cruel joke, thinking it would be funny, no, hilarious, to see disappointment on my face. Vicious, I tear the paper. It heaps beside my feet. I open it and expect to see nothing but the blank white bottom of an ordinary box. But it is filled with this day right now, on the patio, pansies, purple and yellow faces with pouty lips in bronze pots, the starling that alights on the tip-top of the neighbor's peaked roof, black silhouette. It's still there, and still. And the peach clouds low down in the north, bright silver with soft gray scalloping their tops. The air is soft and warm. There is no wind. And just now an oriole flashes by, yellow and black, rippling and cracking through this day. Last poem. Force. You can't force a poem, but a poem can force you back on your heels to examine it, and so I do. I look at its intricacies, frost, lace, crisped pincushion lichen, and its tufted titmouses plump like marshmallows, and its bird feeder slightly swaying, and its long shadows on the snow, and footprints leading off into a grove, and its gray mice that I keep thinking I see sneaking under the pantry door, and it's mushrooms, especially the ravenel stinkhorn, and its glimpses of Mount Washington and the huge sundog, rainbow colors haloing, and the full moon peeking through a web of dark branches like a cat-faced spider, and the ditch with the forget-me-nots that you transplanted into a big blue pot on the patio so I could always see them, because I could no longer walk easily out to look at them. You are always thinking about me. And the puddle I saw in the second grade on the playground blacktop after we had moved mid-year and I had no friends, the puddle reflected the sky so clearly I was afraid to step into it, afraid I would fall into the sky.
Awesome. When we told Brock and Shannon that we would like them to participate in some way, they're like, yeah, but the spotlight should be on you guys. And you can clearly see now why that is not the case, because their poems are awesome. And so, yeah, they totally deserve to be here. Okay, so our next poet is Teresa Dyer. And I've introduced our group so often, like 5 times now, so I'm not going to go over the same thing I do every year. So if you're new, I apologize. But I will say this, poetry is kind of slutty. And what I mean by that is poetry is attracted to all kinds of people, right? It will draw you in. And sometimes you meet people you would have never met before because of poetry. Teresa is like super accomplished, like work-wise, she's super athletic. She does all these crazy things that I, like my lazy self, would never do. And yet we get to be friends because slutty poetry liked us both. How awesome is that? Anyway, Teresa has an amazing voice. It's just so powerful, and every time she writes a poem, I just want to, like smoosh it. It's so good. Anyway, that's your introduction. I don't know. Anyway, Teresa Dyer.
I don't think you should ever apologize or change. Phenomenal introduction. Slutty poetry. Thank you, Star, for reading for Shannon, and thank you, Isaac, for reading for Brock. All right, I've got 3 poems. Watching the lurid meteor shower. Blanket shrouded against the bite of April night in northern Utah, we ignore knots in craned necks, share wild turkey spiked cider, snap heads back like Pez dispensers at each delighted cry as the lyrids we await scorch through the sky. Tongue bourbon stung, I rest my neck, but not my eyes. Gaze drawn by your gravity the way Earth tempts meteors toward its orbit, burns them to dust in bitter atmosphere. I ought to know better. I want more. I pour from a thermos lit by the flick and flare of shooting stars as they arc across the lyre of Orpheus, famously doomed by one look. Pupils thrilled wide, I wish for that quick spark, match strike against the sky, brittle heat, tidal heartbeat, shared excitement, secret fleeting light in the dark. All right, this one is newer, shorter. It's called The Nail. I am haunted today by the nail outside the bedroom door, hammered into the jamb at 45 degrees, doorknob height. I asked you once, why the nail? You explained, the knob has no lock. To lock me in, you wrapped a shoelace around knob, around nail. I am haunted by the nail you drove in to lock away a small child, racked by tantrums, but never pried out. It occurred to me recently that I potentially need to clarify this title of this next poem. It's Throne, but not like a king chair, like the action, throne. Once I was thrown from a horse. No, that's not so. Certainly the flighty yearling, soft brown like thick dust on walnut, bolted beneath me, but I was never thrown. Well, once I fell from a horse. That's not quite true either. I made the choice. Once I sat saddled atop a borrowed horse, my first and last time all-day riding hard, nowhere Utah desert. We pulled up on a bluff as a train passed. Then it sounded its horn. My nervous mount broke at the echo, tore down the slope, patched with dying desert grass, so fast I was pulled flat against its stretched neck, weak with fear. Yes, once I lost control of a spooked horse, let go of the reins, leaned out of the saddle, flipped backward in a chaos of momentum, my foot caught in the stirrup, then slammed to the ground so hard I thought I died. I lay fish-mouthing for breath, blinking at the milky sky, as a horse carrying my father jumped clean over me in a flash of black, a caesura in the thunder of hooves. Around the time I could sit up through my tears, he wheeled back to tell me I would live. Then he left me there alone, chased after my horse until it could be caught more than an hour later. What a miracle nothing was broken, not concussed, nor punctured, nor bitten in half. What a miracle it would have been if he'd knelt with me in the dirt, if he'd held me until I could stand, if he hadn't scolded me for letting go.
Oh, see what I'm saying? Those poems are so good. Okay. All right. Okay, so our next reader is me, Naomi Tim. Okay, so I'm going to do this in the third person. Okay, Naomi is a caregiver, an advocate for disability rights, a poet. I have a degree in political science, but honestly, this administration has killed me. It's killed me. I have no hope in anything anymore. Why am I introducing myself that way? I don't know. Anyway, I write stuff. I devised this little trick so that I could flip my poems up and not be super slow about it, so things might fly all over the place. A warning in case that happens. I don't know if it'll happen. All right. Anyway, I'm gonna read a poem or three anyway. All right. So here I go. Anyway. All right. I'm really having a blast, you guys. It's so weird. I apologize. Okay, here we go. This is called The Leather Jacket. My phone is at 10% when I begin the online check-in for my doctor appointment. The final section is the depression one. I answer nearly every day for all of them. The final question is about eating habits. I have never eaten like a normal person. In high school, before first period, I walked to the Shell station and filled a 64-ounce bright pink cup with Pepsi. This was my breakfast and lunch. During drama practice, it was dinner too. 30 years later, I drink a can of cherry Coke every morning without fail. Some days, I eat food. Most days, I don't. The phone screen dims. I hit done right before it hits 5%. I wonder if I have lost enough weight to fit into your jacket. We bought it 20 years ago at the Bayshore Mall in Eureka. I remember the sales clerk telling you how good you looked. He probably got a commission, but he wasn't wrong. I button it up, put on an orange face mask, take a picture before my phone dies. The sun shines on the walk to the bus. For a few minutes, I don't think about suicide. Okay, hold on, sorry. I did this to make the process faster, and it didn't make it faster. Stupid paper. Oh my gosh, okay. I'm so glad I have friends. Yeah, can you imagine this weirdness all alone? Anyway, this is called the high road. Okay, the high road. Why are we told to be better? Told to rise above? When people cover us in shit, be grateful, don't brag. It isn't kind to need people to face the consequences of their actions. For one glorious day, the internet speculated that he was dead. There had been zero activity on his socials, radio silence from the White House. MAGA scolded us for hoping. Now, as farmers cry over unsold soybeans, we are told to be nice, show sympathy for them. After all, they didn't know. The high road is crumbling, steep, and cracking. It is not wheelchair accessible. A large sign in small print boasts a long list of who can or cannot be on it. The smoke of burning books sting the eyes, makes it hard to breathe. Turns out, the high road is just elevated. Taking it earns us no grace or humanity. We can swallow our pain, reach out a hand to the fellow in the red hat, help him up. He will just call ICE, tell them he is sure we are illegals or terrorists. And, hold on. Okay. This is sort of a follow-up to that. This is called When He Is Dead. A heaviness we have borne so long we have no memory of its lack will be lifted. The deep cloud in the east will break apart into white wisps, a cotton fluff flying from an azure sky. We will come out into the streets, take our neighbors by the hands, smile wider than we ever thought possible. Cars would stop, drivers look up into a new lighted sky. Faces will turn from half-mast flags, feast on the riot of color flown from apartment windows. Pride flags of all shapes and sizes. We will sing praise to a new holiday. As the body lies in state, Bob Dylan will lead a procession through the rotunda, a witness to ensure he is dead. This ignorant, dumb fuck master of war. Wait, not done yet, sorry. There's still more. Yeah, fuck that guy. All right. I like your enthusiasm, though. Keep it up. Fuck fascists will adorn acoustic guitars produced by many hands in the large crowd outside. Music will drown out any weeping. Pink and blue trans pride flags will bury any red hats. America will indeed be made great again. His followers will slink away, pale orcs hiding in a shadowy Mount Doom. They will shell out $5,000 for their very own death mask, the last gift of a fallen savior. When he is dead, the rest of us will feast and sing like white-clad elves, drinking wine and telling stories we had scarce dared to remember before. When he is dead, our hearts will lift, float in a sun-blessed sky. When he is dead, we will finally know rest. Thank you. Seriously, okay, I'm going to pause here for a second because I am hosting and I can do that. And I just want to say, this is my first public outing since our government killed Renee Good and Alex Preddy. And I just want to say fuck ICE and I just seriously, fuck fascism. I fucking hate it here. And it's part of why I struggle writing poetry right now. I already have major depressive disorder. I don't need this shit too, like seriously. So anyway, that's just a little executive privilege I'm taking here to just say that I apologize. You know what? Fuck it. I do not apologize. If you disagree with me, that's nice. This is a public venue. You're allowed to do that, but we're not friends. So that's it. All right. Our last reader. I can't believe it's our last reader already. That's so weird. Okay. Our last reader is Isaac Tim. Isaac is fucking awesome. All right. Here's the thing. Because politics is on my mind because it's a shit show. Isaac survived COVID, and he really wasn't supposed to. And many people in his life didn't want him to because they all wanted to go to Starbucks. So seriously. Anyway, Isaac is a poet. He is a historian with a focus on South America. He is a father of 2 cats. He is every animal's friend. Like, let's just get it out there in the open. Dogs love him. He's a good guy. He's also just really cool. And I'm not just saying that because I married him because I don't really like him. Anyway, I just don't want you to think I'm biased. So anyway, Isaac writes a lot about nature. He writes a lot about family dynamics. And he writes a little about politics like I do. And he also doesn't like fascists, which is why we're married. So, anywho's, here is Isaac Tim.
All right.
Okay, is that good?
Yeah.
So good.
Okay, I'm not gonna talk about Naomi in the third person. Naomi is a shield maiden, which is a Viking idea of men and women going to war and a woman being a fellow warrior. And my wife is shield maiden, not only to me, but to love and poetry and kindness. And we need more of that.
Yeah.
Sorry. So my first poem is about COVID-19, and the ending of 2019, we had a pandemic, and I didn't think that was going to be a political statement. And in the first 9 months of that pandemic, a million Americans died. And there's no day of remembrance for us. There's no celebration. And one of those people was my own father. And I feel like we need that we need to be remembered, and that we didn't. And our loved ones didn't die for nothing. And this is the poem I wrote, American Ghosts. With eyes full of God, they throw the gears in reverse, and we are dead. January 6th, they storm the Capitol, flags unfurled, screaming righteously, but not because we are dead. They climb the walls, smash in the windows, butcher a Capitol police officer, but we are still dead. We are still dead. In LA, they loosen burning restrictions, though they can burn more of we. The dead. Okay, guys. Wow. Okay, one. Whew. Okay, guys, let's start that again. I don't know where that came from. Whew. In LA, they loosened the burning restrictions so they could burn more of we, the dead. The whole block of Manhattan is lined with refrigerator trailers. A woman screams, "We are dying. Oh God, we are dying." In institutions, we died. Okay. In institutions, we died behind glass, alone or with others, strangers in masks who warned us when no one else would. And we cursed them, and they cursed them, the upright citizens, the nurses that held our hands and were threatened, mocked, because they faced our deaths every day. He smirks, our 46th president. Has anyone important died? And they cheer, and we are still dead. We are dead even after surviving the fall of Tower 2. We are dead because we were doctors and nurses, red flesh pressed with the image of a mask, and we are dead. We remember the assassination of JFK and his brother. And Martin Luther King, and they're dead. And so are we. Dead and no one mourned. Dead even if we traveled with Trump to his rallies. We are dead though we chanted fake news. We died though we watched his victory as if it was ours. We are dead, ashes, frozen in bags, in hospitals, with machines, or without. We are dead for no reason. We are dead. I have never been that emotional. I am really sorry, guys.
Don't apologize.
It's probably my fault, bro.
Okay. That was a tough week. I didn't think I'd have a problem writing that poem. I read it 20 times. Okay, get me some kind of tissue.
Oh, hero.
Yeah, way to go.
Hero.
And you got a tiara, and that's great. Every person should be wearing a tiara at some time.
That is
Correct.
fact.
That's right. Okay. Here is a poem about a prostitute.
Woo!
This is from my book Aquifer. It's the Ballad of Shovel-Nosed Kate. Looking like a sister missionary in her white blouse and canvas skirt, between four miners grinning through the dust, is Shovel-Nosed Kate. She seems whitewashed, too angelic for such a rawhide moniker, more Calamity Jane on a bender than a woman in black and white, in her 20s, hands primly crossed in front. Imagine her a grandma, Mama Katie, rocking in her chair under a picture of the temple, telling her grandchildren of the first meeting with Granddad at the Grange dance, leaving out Grandpappy's 26 fellow miners, the foreman, plus every farm boy with a field to plow. Maybe she gave them a baptism under that great empty Milky Way sky, rode them plain and earnest, made them forget about a week inhaling dust in the dark. Kate stands haloed in the dust as the mining company packs Fish Springs camp. The young miner stops in his dusty wagon, heading for the Deep Creek railhead. She takes his hand, and from then on, he's the one.
Yeah.
And this is the poem from my Aunt Barbara. This is the Desert Rose of Callao. my ex-uncle, sweaty beer in hand, sneers about the rose of Callio. That one that got away, and I see this blustering blowhard, looming grand, over vast tilled earth with straw hat cocked, as he harvests my aunt on a spring morning. A wild rose peering out from the weeds along a ditch. He rolled in and pulled it out with a backhoe, one square of clay, took it from Callio to a place where it could be easily controlled. He replanted the rose in a well-tended yard where everything grew orderly, hoping the rose's chaotic blossoms would grow more respectable. But she shot forth vines, playful thorns that made the garden reckless, and no blossoms grew, only green vines, deep foliage. So he pruned, amputated, exposed the ends, capped them with tar. For he was a man of godly will, steward, master of unruly things. Spare the rod, spoil the flowers. But it was all lost. The vines just grew. The blossoms did not. So he started the war, burned, tore, rooted with a shovel. But next spring, the rose came back, her roots spreading like her vines. He struck back, fire, herbicide, until the yard was napalmed, until grass flaked off the earth like leprous skin. This garden lost, he abandoned it for a new field, left his yard barren, filled with tumbleweeds, trash, old appliances, but near the fence, only near the fence did flowers grow, protected by the shadow of the wild rose that blooms, dotted like a hedge of stars. And this is the poem Youth of July. Youth of July. Girl of 15 hangs out the window, slender arm waving like a moth at a friend passing or past. Her escort, a phantom young man from the nose down, eyes lost to the glare of the street, flows with the youth of July. Some to eddy into parking lots, pieces of green yard, spread on blankets, piled on tailgates, laughter like bells over bass, caught in the small moments between the passing of cars, a cavalcade of tan elbows and flashing faces under a halo of bangs, pretty smiling girls to be lost, then discovered, passing and turning, crossing in and out of lanes. Sex rumbles in the heart like an engine, a slow present backbeat happening below sheltering cottonwoods, under lap throws, flush young faces, fumbling hands, groping as if ecstasy could be lost, to float endlessly to the east side of town with honking traffic and no headlights. Evening casts itself out. Beer cans come out of hiding from under daddy's gun rack, from behind mama's quilt, down under the floorboards, and they drink until midnight, until dispersed by unseen hands, replaced by an empty street, a single slow squad car, neon that winks closed. But somewhere is a rumble under the street lamp, the promise of another Friday night.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Don't be sorry. Powerful reading, man. Powerful reading.
See, I didn't oversell it. You guys might have been thinking, she's overselling it. No, I didn't. We're awesome. We are a kick-ass group. And so are all of you for being here. So thank you. Let's do the thing where we thank our featured readers one last time. Yay. All right. Okay, so now we're just going to go seamlessly into open mic. This list is real small. So I'm going to read the names of the first three readers, and then I'm going to come back and ask if anybody wants to be added. At which point one of you or more could shout out, "Yeah, bro, whatever." Okay? You don't have to, no pressure. But if you want to, you got to shout out. Don't raise your hand. I can't see anything. But so anyway, just letting you know how that's going to work. Okay, here we go. All right. Our Helicon West open mic readers for tonight are, we got Jan Euros, Mar Nuta, my pronunciation is terrible, I apologize, and then Denise.
All right.
Oh,
Storm the mic, Jen.
Yeah, that's right.
Thank you guys for all your beautiful poetry. That was so wonderful. Really enjoyed that. Sunday is March 1st, which is a big day for me. You'll find out why. March 1st, 1979, the day I quit smoking. I was 23 years old at the time, but the smoking cessation course I was enrolled in told each of us to celebrate that day for the rest of our lives. I've always made a point of doing that. Sometimes it's a simple thing, like a long, luxurious bubble bath. One time it was a trip to Croatia. I had started smoking as a teenager, mostly sneaking cigarettes from my parents' packs. They both were heavy smokers at the time and didn't even notice. But I didn't like their brand, so eventually I started to buy my own. It was quite the deception process, hence part of the excitement, because I wasn't legally old enough to buy cigarettes. I think in those days you had to be 18. However, I lived on Army bases and there were always a willing GI around to buy cigarettes for a young girl, beer too for that matter. A pack in those days lasted me almost a week. There weren't a lot of opportunities to smoke while I was still living at home. Mostly I smoked late at night while I was doing homework and my parents were asleep, or before and after getting on the school bus. By the time I was 19, I was married and working full-time at a high-stress job. In those days, you could smoke almost anywhere. Movie theaters, restaurants, airplanes, and in the workplace. My husband didn't smoke, but didn't mind that I did, but none of our friends smoked. I had gone from a world where everyone in my family and all my friends smoked to a place where I was the only smoker. It became a problem. Going to restaurants, everyone wanted to sit in the non-smoking section, except for me. I was embarrassed, but not enough to quit. Those were pre-children days. I always knew I wanted to quit smoking before I got pregnant, but that was far down the road. I continued to smoke. Cigarettes kept getting more and more expensive, and there were less and less places in which you could smoke. Movie theaters eventually banned it, as did airplanes, most restaurants, and a lot of other places. I could still smoke at my office, though, and I was starting to smoke a whole pack a day just at work. I did limit myself outside of work. I did not allow myself to smoke in my brand new car. And on a typical day, I only smoked once in the morning, once after dinner, and once before bed. But of course, I was smoking one whole pack at work. I thought a lot about how would I ever be able to quit smoking. I loved it so much. But it was a problem for the future, so I didn't worry too much. One day my office mate offered a solution. She, also a smoker, had heard of a smoke cessation program called Smoke Enders and asked if I was interested in going to the meeting with her. I wasn't quite ready to quit smoking, but was curious. It was an 8-week course and cost $250. That was a lot of money in those days. The course was designed similar to AA meetings, and I was impressed with after the introductory meeting. My office mate promised to do it with me, and having a work buddy involved where most of my smoking took place, seemed like a good thing. The money was a huge hurdle, but my husband and I decided it'd be worth it. The money had to be paid up front. Meetings were once a week, and for the first 5 weeks you were allowed to smoke, but conditionally. The first week I could smoke all I wanted all the time. But for the second week I had to switch out of my favorite brand to something I'd never smoked before. This was not a problem for me. I found that I liked all kinds of different brands. By the third week, I was not allowed to use any of my favorite lighters, cigarette cases, ashtrays, or any other smoking accessories. Bare bones cigarettes and old-fashioned matches, still not a problem. Also, there were limits on when during the day I could smoke. None of the trigger times like first thing in the morning, or after a meal, or after sex. By the fourth week, it was hard to find a time to smoke with all the limits that were put on me by smoke vendors. I was down to about 10 cigarettes a day. The fifth week proved very problematic. With all the rules, there were virtually no time to smoke. The method turned out to be very well designed. During the weaning period of smoking, while you were still allowed to smoke, albeit with limits, you were training your body to withstand the withdrawal symptoms, which are very real. Also, you were training your psyche to not have trigger cigarettes. At the end of the fifth week, with our last cigarette, we were told to make a ceremony with the last one and end with a flourish. We'd been told to keep all of our butts in a jar during those 5 weeks. I remember having my last cigarette, putting it out and dropping it in the jar with all those other butts from the last 5 weeks. The next 3 weeks of the course were considered maintenance. First, we were told to pay attention to oral gratification, brushing our teeth regularly, chewing gum and mints, and watching out for alcohol, which is a very strong trigger for smoking. They made us promise to not use Lavoris mouthwash, which was chock full of alcohol. Who knew? One of the first exercises we did during the maintenance weeks was to figure out when our course fees would be paid off with the money we were saving by not smoking. Not just adding the cost of the cigarettes and accessories, but costs of going to the dentist for teeth cleaning, dry cleaning bills, repair bills for burned holes in items, etc. This was a brilliant marketing strategy. Most of us, depending on how much we actually smoked, realized that the course was paid for within a matter of weeks. We were also told that if we ever had an urge to smoke, we should go to our jar of butts and open it and sniff it. That would surely deter the urge. A few months after we quit smoking, my office mate and I went out for a drink after work. She pulled out a cigarette and lit it. I was floored. She offered one to me. I staunchly refused. I asked her how on earth she could go back to smoking after all that struggle to quit and being smoke-free for all those months. She just shrugged and said it was no big deal. I couldn't believe it. Trying to appeal to her practical sense, I asked about all the money that we had paid for it and that was wasted. The cost itself proved to be a large deterrent for me. She again shrugged and confessed that her parents had paid for it, so it was no big deal. She continued to smoke, had an affair with my married boss, which caused her marriage to in turn end, and even had a fling with my husband when we took her in after her divorce. Not that smoking had anything to do with it, but she was making some dubious decisions. Meanwhile, I was so proud of myself, I never thought I could actually quit smoking. It was the hardest thing I'd ever done in my young life up to that point. But I made sure to reinforce the goodness of it. And March 1st is still a day to celebrate. Here it is 47 years later, and I will do something special that day for myself. Again, I still crave cigarettes. I probably always will, but I've never given in. I still have my butt jar, and I don't have have to sniff it anymore. And it was an achievement I've always looked on with a sense of accomplishment. There have been many other things in my life thrown at me which have been difficult to overcome. However, once I managed to quit smoking, I realized that I was a strong person and able to soldier through a lot of things. Smoke enders taught me volumes.
Okay. This poem is called Blossom. The flower of the apple tree is pretty, but we wait longingly for the fruit. And this one is for my dad. I guess for this one to make sense, you have to understand that my dad has a beautiful garden and astroturf. Okay, so the poem is called Monarch. My father, seeing a caterpillar lost on the astroturf, lifts her up to her milkweed home.
Hi everyone. It's nice to be here. I looked last time I was here, it's the first one in January. And thanks for all the poems. And Naomi, your poems are awesome. Awesome. Thanks everyone. Okay, I have 3 poems. The first one is called She Is Not Afraid of the Dark. She lays across the way back seat in the old 1966 Dodge station wagon. The car windows dark except for passing headlights and street lamps, and the bright orange dot of the tip of her mother's cigarette glowing as she drives in the night. She watches for the moon through the back window, the white vinyl seat turning silver when the moonlight streams in. It races alongside them, dropping behind buildings as they speed away to reappear again assuredly in her view. Something about the way it fills the night world with light, not to illuminate the darkness, but to illuminate it, turning the night into mysterious beauty, a world of curiosity that she does not fear. Laughing with full cheeks, it follows her, no matter where she goes. Smiling brightly, it stays with her, no matter how much it wanes, no matter how slim it gets. Even when it is not visible, she trusts that it is there, out beyond the darkness, shining. And this one is called Making Angels, and it's after a poem by Grace Butcher. In the winter without snow, the angels from the past remain. Their footsteps still shimmer, though you must look more closely. They call to you through the frigid, crystalline air. You do not need snow to create an angel. Come lie on the frozen ground. Move your arms, move your legs, then lay still. Feel the dreams of possibility resting in the dark soil with the sleeping seeds. They are yours now. Though you have wings that no one else can see, rise up and walk into the day. Keep walking towards the next wonderful thing you will do. And this is called A Perfect Union. I think of the bones of the unsung rib cage, the way they protect the heart, how bone too is living, how it constantly renews and makes itself. I think of how ribs engage with other ribs to expand, to contract, moving together so the body can breathe, even as they cradle all the soft organs inside. And because they do their solid work, they allow the heart to float between the lungs on cushions of air. This is what I want, to be a rib in the body of this country, to work with others to make a safe space for love. There is so much that needs protection now. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, readers. That was super great. Okay, so is there anyone who was sitting there thinking, I really want to jump up there? Anybody? Okay. All right. Okay, can I get your name? Because I think I have to fill out the thing. So go ahead. You'll be after Ron. I know who you are. Oh my gosh. All right. I can't remember anybody. I'm terrible. Okay, anywho. Anyone else besides Pam Loosely? That's who you are. I don't know why my brain froze. Anybody else? Okay, that's okay. I wanted to say, if this was your very first Helicon, come back. All your other MCs are not as crazy as me. They're like all professional and cool and like calm. They're not saying stuff about Nazis. So come back if you want to. Okay? I just wanted to put that out there. All right. So, okay. Here we go. Our final readers are going to be Ronald Jensen and then Pam Loosely. And just so I don't have to jump back here again, after that we will be over, which means we say goodbye until next month, and that's cool. But if you are able to help put back chairs, go ahead and help do that. If you can't, do not feel bad. People will help, and they're really fast, so don't worry about it. Okay, and thank you for being here. Okay, so we're going to end with Ronald Jensen and then Pam. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Naomi.
Hi.
Hi, Ron. Hi, Ron.
When we were at the mud, the sun was drying, and you ran in the mud, and the car got stuck. You might say it could, but the mud is the only thing that keeps the car's driver from falling down deep. So you might think of mud in a better way. So what's bad as sun, to make another day. January 2014, at the end of January, 12 years ago, some sad things happened with people I know. Which my parents lost a baby boy, gave and gave. And with their joy, and my friend Faith, down in 6th grade, knew about her, and being a school aide. Finally, my dad found some ice, so I stayed with him, doing start nice. Made me glad. And then had a wife to help me with the trials of life. Thank you.
I've called this 2026. I'm feeling lost, but I'm found. I'm stressed, but I have hope. I don't understand where we're at today. Chaos rules, and rules are gone. Bullies lead us, leaders have left us. It's hard to hold on, but I have to hold on. I grip tight to hope. I try to release the fear. It's easier when I hang out with like-minded friends, people with compassion and ethics, kindness and justice, people who care about the Constitution and the rule of law. I'm feeling lost, but I am found. Thank you.